This long homestand continues for Loudoun United and Ryan Martin as they welcome another beast of the East to Segra Field as Bob Lilly and the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, one of the hottest teams in the entirety of the USL Championship, looking for another big result on the road. Tonight's game presented by Segra. Tyler Terrence along with the ex-German pro Devin Kerr. So glad to have you with us for a little midweek madness in the Eastern Conference of the USL Championship. And with that, let's take a look at the Eastern Conference standings. For Loudoun United, playoffs, not so much in their first season, but for the Hounds, they have so much to play for. You look at seeds 1 through 5, jam-packed bumper to bumper. Devin, if you were to ask me, given everybody's schedule in the top 5, Pittsburgh probably had the best chance to grab that #1 spot.
Probably the Pittsburgh Riverhounds and the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Stick with us at halftime and we'll break down that a bit further for you. But I do like the idea for Loudoun United. They can play spoiler to a couple teams down the stretch here. Taking on the Riverhounds tonight, Rowdies, St. Louis, the Charleston Battery, who might miss out on that opportunity. And then they take on the Baby Bulls on October 19th. But first and foremost, the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, they look to leapfrog Nashville SC and take down the #1 spot in the East.
And in playing this role as spoiler, you'd love to get your young guys involved. And how about this young kid, 16 years old, Moses Nyman is one of the more sought-after youngsters in the United States, just having come back from U16 camp in San Diego. He's great in the middle of the field.
As you see, the 20 under 20 list, we'll see where he ends up on that. And really impressive midfielder that plays that pivot type position. They are working on him in the final third. Ryan Martin admitting that they'd really like him to be a bit more clinical. Feel like his defensive shape has been great, but getting in the attack more regularly and making better decisions come the offensive side of the ball is really where he needs to grow the most.
Let's talk about the defensive side of the ball for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. And while their 3-back system is usually so consistent, this year for Bob Lilly, the goalkeeping position has really been by committee.
7 straight clean sheets right now. That's a club record, and they've done it between Austin Pack and Kyle Morton. Now, we knew Kyle Morton coming in was going to be the #1. Injuries, back and forth rotation. The ability to have Bob Lilly's structure in front of you doesn't necessarily provide you a lot of opportunities to make saves. That's not the case for these guys. They have kept their team in a lot of games, and specifically in recent fixtures against some really good company. Lou City, Charleston Battery, Nashville. Able to keep zeros against those teams are why they have a shot at the #1 seed right now.
The Hounds right now haven't lost since August 17th. The 5-0 drubbing against North Carolina, and Bob Lilly has certainly righted the ship since then. Meanwhile, for Loudoun United, they're trying to play that ever so juicy role of spoiler. It's Loudon and the Hounds when we come back. Just about ready for kickoff between Loudoun United and the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Again, tonight's game presented by Segra. Tyler Terrence along with Devin Kerr, and we could not be more excited about this one that we have in Leesburg, Virginia. We'll take a look at the starting 11s, which are brought to you by the National Conference Center. Mr. Devin Kerr, what are we looking at for Ryan Martin on the home side?
Interestingly enough, Ryan Martin has actually turned in Theodore DuPietro, playing in the #10 position. That's not a look we regularly see out of him. More so on the outside or lockdown next to Antonio Bustamante, so we'll see how that plays out. He does have the ability with Griffin Yao on the left, Andrew Loudoun on the right, where they can all fulfill any of those roles going forward. Of course, Kyle Murphy will play in the 9 up top. Outside backs and Hunter Gorski and Pivo Due. And Miguel Angel Garduno actually in at center back next to Harry Hawkins. Callie Brown in between the pipes. Visitors, Pittsburgh Riverhounds, as we mentioned, going for that #1 spot. One game behind Nashville. They can leapfrog them tonight. They will sit in a 3-5-2. Van Kiazil will actually sit deep. He'll play in that holding midfielder position. We've seen it in games past. Recently, he's actually been played at center back or outside back. Ryan James and Noah Frankie are going to be in the wing back position. Sammy Kasai, really like what he's brought to the Riverhounds this year, as well as Robbie Mertz. He was a big one coming out of Michigan, liked what he's done for Shaka Daly's squad. Of course, Nico Brett in his ridiculous wonder strike last time out will look to replicate his beautiful prowess in the offensive third.
And there is none other than Mr. Joseph Greenspan, who anchors the defense for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds in that vaunted 3-back led by Bob Lilly. And Andrew Loudoun leading the young Loudoun United side as one of the wily veterans and resident grandfathers at 27 years of age, mixing it up with the likes of Moses Nyman, who's just 16 years old. And away we go from Leesburg, Virginia. Tyler Terrence along with Devin Kerr. So glad to have you with us. 3 points up for grabs. If Pittsburgh are to gain all 3 points, they have sole possession of first place in the Eastern Conference. For Loudoun United, as we mentioned before, always something to play for when you throw on the kid. But with all of these great teams rolling into Segra Field, they just get week after week the opportunity to play the role of spoiler. There's Miguel Garduno getting his debut with Loudoun United. Of course, last seen with Las Vegas Lights in their inaugural season. Recently seen, though, with El Farolito in the Bay Area in San Francisco, playing amateur football, as this one is just pummeled on the other side. Hoping for Nico Brett, and Garduno will pick his head up. One by Toby Adewale. Here's Robbie Mertz looking for the big diagonal ball. It's a hopeful one. It actually looked like it came off the head of Peebo Due. And he'll circle back around. And it's off of Griffin Yao. And let's take a look at tonight's injury report brought to you by Ortho Virginia. Robbie Tam brought out for Loudoun United Ryan Martin. Nothing to report on the side of the Riverhounds, which is always good for a playoff team that's looking to make a late push, especially a Riverhounds side that has not gotten past the quarterfinals in the modern era of the USL. Always good to have a clean bill of health. Just ask John Hackworth in Louisville City, who didn't really have a clean bill of health until last week. Loudoun United coming off of that multi-goal decision against Nashville. Obviously the side that Pittsburgh are chasing currently. They're tied on points, but Nashville have the edge in the win department at the moment. Devin, I know you're not exactly a massive fan of that tie-breaking rule in the USL Championship, wins versus goal differential.
It's the time-old tale that never gets old, does it? I think for Loudoun United, some positive talking points. Yeah, I get it. Mathematically, not necessarily eliminated just yet. We had a little fun pregame talking about if they won out every single match, where they could end up. Most likely not going to happen. But they have really shown well in games past. Even in the Nashville match, there were some looks. They could have gotten themselves back into it. This didn't work out that way, and they've shown us quite a few times this year that not only can they play spoiler, but they can look quite impressive doing it. The 4-0 match against North Carolina back on August 31st rings a bell, and about the 1-1 draw just before it. So some really positive points to take out of what they've been able to do over the course of the season. Of course, being away from home for such an extended period of time, much like what you saw out of Hartford Athletic, is very difficult to deal with. Coaching change coming out of Ryan Martin. All the stars hopefully aligning in 2020.
How about a 3-0 win against Louisville as well back at Audi Field? They certainly have been able to show that they can mix it up with the best in the Eastern Conference. But again, Devin, it's so many times that we've heard this from Ryan Martin, that the youngsters, it's so difficult to put in consistent performance after consistent performance, because for some of these guys, it's their first year being a professional. Yes, on the surface, that's what it sounds like, but it's also just training week in and week out. And you know more than most that if you're going to do that at such a young age, it can take a toll on your body and it can take a toll on your mind, as Robbie Mertz settles possession for Pittsburgh. Of course, right on cue, they give it away. Antonio Bustamante being sized up by Thomas Van Kiazil. Due getting forward. It was a good touch from Griffin Yao, who celebrated his 17th birthday in that 3-0 win against the Swope Park Rangers. 4-1 win, I should say. Gordon Wild with the hat trick. And Tedekuti Pietro getting his first professional goal, as Joe Greenspan feels the pressure and sends it away. Velarde was trying to bring it down. No foul called by our head referee, Guido Gonzalez Jr. Good entry ball in. And a layoff for Andrew Loudoun. Adewale. Mistake there from Velarde again, who's given it away his first 2 initial touches. As Miguel Garduño will switch the point of attack. Pittsburgh Riverhounds side that tonight is also looking to tie a franchise record for wins. Last time that they had 17. You have to go all the way back to the early 2000s. That was before the modern era of the USL, which of course started in 2010. It really has been a quietly, massively successful year for the Hounds.
Something they've been building on regularly since the departure of Dave Brandt in 2017. You have to realize that they went 8-12-12 in that year, just 36 points to show for their work. 59 last year, and obviously a draw tonight would equal that. Just with games in hand, the ability to continue to push the threshold on what this team is capable of. You and I have had multiple discussions on not just how well this style can suit this league in general, but more importantly, what does that look like come postseason time? Because it hasn't necessarily been good for Pittsburgh once they reach the knockout stages. Is that the year where maybe this changes everything and they can start to add to the record books?
And you would like to think that if they got a home game, that might be the case, but they fell to a Bethlehem Steel side in a 3 versus 6 matchup in the Eastern Conference quarterfinals as Moses Nyman wins it back for Loudoun United. Who could forget that instant classic? That was probably the best game from start to finish in the postseason last year, regardless of conference, as Guido Gonzalez will bring this one back. We have a player injured down behind the play.
I like that game. I will say that in a similar round, I was a big fan of the Nashville FC Cincinnati game. I predicted Nashville to win it, but I thought it was really impressive, the run that they gave, and going the same way, it just turns the ankle a little bit. That's not a good look. Sammy Kasai drifting out of the middle, and just that left foot. There he is, up and at him. That man sitting so coy on the bench.
What do you think's going through his mind? Defense.
Yeah. 2 words.
He is one of the best to do it, and his tactics on the defensive side of the ball are usually spot on. And he just demands the utmost from his team. And you and I have heard stories of Bob Lilly where, you know, their side could win a game 3-4-1, have it in their hands the entire way, and they get a tongue lashing at the end of the game for something that might have happened that led to them not being able to hold on to the clean sheet, or maybe a 10-minute stretch where they weren't perfect on the ball. And that's just the type of manager that Bob Lilly is.
It builds character as a player. And if you have the ability, number one, to study under someone like that, but more importantly, to be able to withstand those lashings, if you will. I played for a manager like that and stronger for it, not just as a player, but as a person. And you get guys that have moved on in positive sense, someone like Joey Farrell, even Todd Pratzner earlier this year going over to Memphis, he talked about it. And, you know, playing alongside Mark Birch and how cool it was to play with a seasoned veteran like that, but coming off experience with Bob Lilly, how much as a player it had really pushed him to excel in so many different areas that he didn't know he was capable of.
Frankie was trying to get on the better side of Pibo Due. He felt like he got pushed over, and Callie Brown says, thank you very much, I'll take the goal kick. It's pretty ridiculous that Pittsburgh are currently on a 7-game streak without giving up a goal. Now make it 7 and 8.5 minutes.
We addressed it in the open of the company that they've kept in that brilliant run of form.
Griffin Yao played through by Kyle Murphy. Draws somewhat of a double team over there. Loops one in. Loudoun scrambling to try to win it back. Able to do so. Showing good strength and composure on the ball. Gives it away. Robbie Mertz with a solid interception. He tries to poke it away, and now Hunter Gorski stripped of possession, and Pittsburgh slowly but surely able to clear their lines, but it stays with Loudoun United. Bustamante. It's over for Due. Good penetrating pass in for Kyle Murphy. Big touch towards the byline. But there is Big Joe Greenspan to knock the delivery out of play, and a corner kick coming up for the home side.
The thing if you're Loudoun United you have to be cognizant of is opening 10 minutes, you're starting to find some spaces. That's not going to last for that long. Bob Lilly and his squad, one of the better ones in all the USL Championship, that are granted in-game changes in terms of tactics, where he'll have conversations with Van Kiezio, Ryan James, Noah Frankie, and then the boys going forward to just lock that down so the distribution is no longer there.
Corner all the way to the far post. Loudoun again. Knocks it back. Hunter Gorski on the first time. Morton coming off of his line, punches it away right to the feet of Nico Brett. Brett 11 goals on the season. Foul's going to be called against Loudon, even though they're not exactly pleased with it. Segra, with its industry-leading customer service and one of the East Coast's largest fiber networks, is powering organizations of all sizes with state-of-the-art voice, data, and internet services. Whether you're a municipality, a large business, or a fledgling startup, Segra knows you can't afford to be down. Their fast, reliable, and secure solutions keep you up and running and ahead of the pack. Bustamante, let's go all the way back for Callie Brown, Leesburg native. Wale going all the way back for Kyle Morton, 25-year-old keeper from Westchester, Pennsylvania. Played for James Madison University. Devin Kerr, their nickname, please.
The green and white, I can see them.
No, they're not.
Oh, I'm thinking of George Mason. There we go. We'll get there. The Pirates?
No.
Mountaineers?
No.
That's West Virginia.
The Dukes.
I got that one wrong. Sorry, everybody at home.
0 for 1 on the night.
We'll get there.
80 minutes to play.
Line them up.
Harry Hawkins. He's been one of the mainstays along the back line for Ryan Martin. But that ball will not stay in play as Bibo Due runs out of real estate. It's been interesting to see who Ryan Martin plugs in next to Harry Hawkins at the center back position. We've seen Colin Firth, we've seen Shane Witt, now we've seen Miguel Garduño. Moses Nyman. There's the Mexican Garduño in his debut. Andrew Loudoun was trying to get a foot to it, but bothered just enough by Toby Adewale, and Kyle Morton says, don't worry about it, Joe, I've got it.
Already the defensive shape for the Riverhounds changing a little bit. Robbie Mertz and Sammy Kasai aren't pushing as high up, so the space in behind for either Coup du Pietro, Moses Nyman, or Bustamante to operate is starting to slim itself down, where it's basically 3 different inverted triangles with the back 3, Van Kiezio, Ryan James, and then Frankie on the right, just holding up the space. That's where they can turn this defensive block into 6-7, even deeper at times, and then they counteract going the other way, just like that. On the other side of the ball, keep an eye with Van Kiezio. You can see him sitting deep, and this is where Robbie Mertz and Sammy Kasai have to be the operators in the engine room to try and get this attack going forward. That's the look at Anthony Velarde dropping back in, and when he starts to step, that's exactly what they need. Number 6, Kasai will step higher. Quick little rotation. Everybody more than willing to handle more than one role, and that's the big thing for Bob Lilly's team is, and this is a very respectful comment, they're not all top-notch players in terms of where they're playing on the field. but they can all play almost every single position. Now, you've got your defensive guys like Joe Greenspan who aren't going to go play center forward, but he's more than capable of stepping up into the middle. I'm sure you've got a great story. He's more than capable of stepping up into the middle and start getting this attack going forward. Sammy Kasai can play that offensive threat, but also sit back and play the 6. Ryan James, we know he's one of the better one-on-one defenders in the league, but also loves the ability to get involved in the attack. And everybody willing to rotate all over the field is why they are successful.
Brett brings it down for Robbie Mertz. It's funny that you mentioned Joe Greenspan and playing forward, because basically up until junior year of college, he was a center striker and scoring goals for the Naval Academy, but eventually was utilized at the center back position, where he just casually became a 2-time All-American.
Nice job. Just a little part-timer. Picked it up on the side.
But like it seems too obvious though, right? I mean, a big 6'5" center back who's able to jump through the roof. And as Ryan Martin trying to adjust some of the tactics from the Loudon United technical area, has done such a great job since taking over. How about the job that Richie Williams and Bruce Arena have done with the New England Revolution?
It's a bit different in the Eastern Conference than MLS now.
I mean, if you would have told me that after about week 9 or 10 that New England were somehow going to find their way into the postseason, I would have said you're absolutely crazy.
Well, then the Cavalier contingent decided to take over, as it seems to do at some point in time in any level of U.S. soccer.
Got a Cavalier in goal for Loudon United tonight, Callie Brown. Put away by Morton. Harry Hawkins with a feathery touch just hands it over to Peebo Douay. Trying to get around Noah Frankie and Sammy Kasai. Griffin Yao trying to get on the better side of Joe Greenspan, but he's giving up about 5 or 6 inches and probably 45 to 50 pounds.
It's going to be a rough challenge for Griffin Yao all night long, where the continued pressure against the outside back, as well as the movements going forward, where he's going to have to track back and challenge Noah Frankie. Sammy Kasai, when he rotates over, can easily turn to a pretty large amount of frustration for the youngster. All of this young talent that Ryan Martin is continuing to nurture in so many different ways. Experience is obviously a big one, but then the individual situations where you can't push the young ones too quickly and ruin their confidence, but you still need to put them under the professional spotlight on a regular basis to make sure that you are boosting them up that pyramid.
Douay tries to keep it in play. Sammy Kasai did well. Noah Frankie trying to spin Griffin Yao. Nico Brett. Frankie with Douay defending. Benki Azil. Wale out wide for Ryan James. David mentioned loves to get involved in the attack. Cuts inside and finding Benki Azil. Patient build up here from the Hounds. Delivery towards the back post. Ryan James waiting for it, knocks it down. And good defending from Andrew Loudoun. Goes back to fulfilling his responsibilities. And Robbie Mertz will recycle it for the Hounds. Benki Azil got bumped, and somehow it finds the feet of Anthony Velarde. Nico Brett. And it's over the head of Noah Frankie.
Just sort of wonder what these battles are going to look like all night long. Great build-up by the Riverhounds. This is where they were so successful in their last match out, and one of the more tactically brilliant performances all season long in the USL Championship against Indy 11. The midfield three combination included Kevin Kerr, Bernardo Forbes, I really like Nico Brett dropping back in, even though he was playing a high line, getting involved as well. There's a lot of disruption from Martin Rennie's squad, who just took over and saw them put them away at the tune of 3 goals, 0 for Indy 11. Of course, the strikes by Conato Forbes and Nico Brett didn't hurt anything, by the way. If you haven't had the opportunity, go check them out. Set pieces and run a play alike.
That had a playoff type feel to it on Highmark. Great atmosphere.
Not a good look for Indy 11 recently at all.
I could have sworn that game was going to finish 0-0. If you were to ask me any scoreline for that, would you not think the same?
It most definitely would not have been 3-0 for Pittsburgh.
No.
You can see an eke out of 1-0 on either squad.
Cut back from Douay. Griffin Yao in the penalty area. And a put away from behind by Thomas Van Kiezeel. Over the head of Harry Hawkins. He misjudges it, but Garduño is there right on cue to back up his center back partner. Minutes gone by here in Leesburg, Virginia. No score. Not many chances to report home about, if any. But as it stands with this result, Pittsburgh would take sole possession of first place in the Eastern Conference by a measly point, but it could be a point that separates first place, and you can maybe even argue third or fourth place by the end of the season. And it is a shootout here at Segra. Yao couldn't quite keep it in play. Mentioned before that he celebrated his 17th birthday in that game against the Swope Park Rangers. Interestingly enough, in the state of Virginia, to obtain a driver's license, 16 years, 3 months.
So he can drive.
So he can drive. He's been able to drive.
Love it.
But now he can go see a rated R movie by his lonesome. 17.
How does that work?
You're asking the wrong guy.
So you can drive, go see a movie, but you can't vote.
Exactly.
That's the big one for me.
Yeah.
Would you rather vote or be able to see a rated R movie?
Right now in the current political climate?
I knew it. Movie all the way.
Depends what movie it is. If it's Interstellar, I'm going to see the movie, but.
Robbie Mertz getting stuck in. Just a quick little follow through as Hunter Gorski, recent addition, Stanford product, getting moved up into the middle there.
What a great rookie season Robbie Mertz is having. 6 goals and 4 assists. As Devin mentioned, coming over from the University of Michigan as Bob Lilly is out from his seat and not happy about something. Moses Nyman surveying.
A little step by Ryan James, well done.
Here's Velarde, takes it on the first time. It's not a bad effort because Callie Brown was retreating and did not set himself. It was intuitive from Velarde, but the execution just a few whiskers off.
We showcased Pittsburgh Riverhounds and how they're able to break teams down. And just watch Ryan James. He had the quick little step. The first ball goes to Sammy Kasai. Lovely distribution coming to the back outside of the foot. And then as he runs across this, just pulls the trigger to the far post. Quick little tactical movements, triangular play. That's where they can be so decisive against teams when they aren't getting a lot of opportunities. That's something Loudon United should take notice of, really employing their own efforts.
Long ball across the field is picked off by Noah Frankie. He sees an opening, and he's just going to take it as Pivo Douay beat for pace. Slips it through, looking for Nico Brett. Great ball. Brett trying to put it on frame, and a terrific save from Callie Brown. Just got a paw to it. And our first real chance of the night comes to the visitors who hail from Pittsburgh.
Velarde just moments ago, and this time a bit more ambition going forward on that right side. Quick little movement again, and it's that quick decision-making that you like so much. Love the arm tug by Douay on the left-hand side. Already knew he was beat and had to make a decision. Am I going to continue this run on my own? Get a little support up top in the likes of Nico Brett. Well done to go the latter route. It is a hard ask, though, when it's coming across your body, bringing it back over your left shoulder on your right foot.
Ball checked up beautifully, though. It had a great weight on it. Coming up for the Riverhounds, if anybody was wondering, they're home against Atlanta United 2, at St. Louis, at Birmingham. And Devin has all sorts of juicy predictions up his sleeve for halftime, so please stick around. You're not going to want to miss it. And he also may not be allowed to speak on the phone with any coaches after it as well, just because he's going to rattle some cages.
Hey, there's a good chance that no one's answering my text or phone calls anymore after this segment. Should we tease one?
You can.
I'll give you a little fun one. How about the tune of North Carolina FC? Currently sitting on 50 points. Still within reach in theory. Still within reach with 3 games to play of a top 4 position. It's a stretch. But at 50 points, sitting in 7th, they're only going to gather 1 point with 3 games to go.
I might need to take my jacket off. It's really warm in here from these hot takes.
That's Dave Sarakin breathing over your shoulder. It's just a little taste of what's to come at halftime. We'll have some fun with it, and we will give you an idea of exactly, Tyler's opinion, mine as well, of how teams are going to gather these points, the matchups that they have. We talked about Loudon United already and their ability to play spoiler. Some teams have some really interesting run-ins where they could go blank. We give you an idea with North Carolina FC, and other ones like the Pittsburgh Riverhounds or Tampa Bay Rowdies have a real honest chance of giving themselves some padding, jumping into one of those top 4 spots and maybe even further.
Here's Ryan James. Benki Azil. Robbie Mertz in a little pocket of space. Almost gives it away. Griffin Yao got a touch. Joe Greenspan. It was a hopeful ball across the middle of the field. And an equally hopeful ball trying to find the feet of Griffin Yao. Joe Greenspan, a hand of apology to Ryan James, who was trying to connect the dots with. Right to Loudon United, who have executed a tactical game plan pretty well up until this point. They made it very difficult for Pittsburgh to play. And that foul's going to be going the other way as Griffin Yao and Noah Frankie got tied up. Or pardon me, that's Robbie Todd Pratzner, I should say.
It's the 3rd time we've seen those two going at it together. Twice, Griffin Yao has gotten himself into trouble, and that's Due looking for the little 1-2. Well done by Antonio Bustamante, and I'll tell you what, that's a real interesting call by the referee on the far touchline.
I would let that go.
Let them play it out.
Because it's away from the ball, they're both grabbing each other.
Shoulder to shoulder, a little jersey tug. I don't mind it at all. Track back to the ball that Joe Greenspan trying to play. That's something that as a center back, when things aren't necessarily moving up the field, you get a little bit lethargic in your thought process going forward where you're looking to stretch the game unnecessarily. Instead, you can play a quick little ball into Benki Azil, Adewale sitting there in support, and you've done the same thing in 2 passes that Greenspan was looking to do in 1. I understand the idea of going direct, but you get yourself into trouble, specifically on the counterattacking option where you open up all sorts of issues.
But that also seems to be Pittsburgh's MO, is that they want to suck you in. They want to load the middle of the field. They want to make teams stretch themselves in the middle, bring you in, and then play those quick little up-back throughs and release the likes of Nico Brett and Anthony Velarde on the other end.
As someone who is so experienced in Joseph Greenspan, if you're going to play that ball, you have to give yourself a leeway where if a mistake is made, people might not necessarily like this analogy, but I'm going to give it to golf a little bit. It's an aim small, miss small, where on a green, if you know where the flag is, if I'm going to miss, where am I going to miss? Same thing for Greenspan coming out of the back. So as a former center back, distribution-wise, if I'm knocking this ball all the way across the field, I want to be long. because it either goes over his head or you have the ability to run onto it. If I'm short or if it's low, you get picked off, go the other way, and I put my team in harm's way.
Miguel Garduño gets his team out of harm's way, but only as far as Toby Adewale. Here's Sammy Kasai, Nico Brett making a run. Kasai going for goal himself, and it wasn't a bad effort. Callie Brown got a fingertip to it. Both times he's been called upon, he's answered. And another corner for Pittsburgh.
You're starting to see more movement out of Robbie Mertz and Sammy Kasai, left and right, as their two attacking midfielders. This time Kasai comes all the way to the left. And even more interestingly, Velarde, who's much more in a distributing role, dropping back deeper, asking for it. And that's allowing space to open up. You don't know where the mark is for Bustamante and Nyman. That's why the shot opens up from distance.
Robbie Mertz on top of the corner. All the way towards the back post, hoping that Greenspan will be able to knot it back across. He has to go negative. Kasai back in over Luban's head, but it'll fall right back for Robbie Mertz from where it came. Mertz towards the byline, dinks it in, and Callie Brown says thank you very much. Corner caught you off guard a little bit. Here's Nico Brett after a poor giveaway from Loudon. It's behind Kasai. Pittsburgh will be kicking themselves about that one. Meanwhile, Loudoun United, slowly but surely, trying to set up shop in Pittsburgh territory. That's out of the reach of Antonio Bustamante. So both of these teams not looking particularly sharp in the first 30 minutes, especially from a technical side. This is so uncharacteristic of both teams.
You referenced earlier how Bob squads could go win a game 3-0, 3-1, 4-1, something like that, but there would be a 10-minute stretch of mistakes. How about 0-0 at halftime where someone 5 yards from you just knocking it over the sideline? That's not a conversation I'd like to be involved in.
No.
Really liked what I've seen out of Velarde in the middle of the field, though, sitting under Nico Brett, and you can see how he just creates this line of three with Robbie Mertz and Sammy Kasai. As we mentioned, both Kasai and Mertz going side to side right now, just locking down that central role. Van Kiesel is the one who's always ever present in the middle of the field, sitting in that deep 6 role, allowing him to connect with the back 3 and then move it to the wingbacks outside. But how are the attacking midfielders going to get involved? Velarde's done a good job, and you can see him now drifting back, helping out defensively as well.
Griffin Yao can just dink it through for Andrew Loudoun. He felt like he got tripped up. Guido Gonzalez, again, not interested. Yao slow to get to his feet. Cleared away by Todd Pratzner. Nico Brett, a great first touch. But Guido Gonzalez claims it was with his hand. Maybe that's why it was such a good touch. He caught it. Douay early delivery. Good ball in for Kyle Murphy. On the turn, lays it off. Bustamante. He can strike from this distance. Di Pietro's taken down. Given away by Velarde. Moses Nyman from distance. Never really had any pace behind it. And these cheap giveaways in tight areas where they're just trying to link passes 5 to 10 yards away are giving these sides a multitude of issues.
Step out of guys like Griffin Yao and Moses Nyman in the middle field. How about someone like Antonio Bustamante, DC United homegrown this year, who's been on loan with Loudon this season, coming out of William & Mary. It's that delayed reaction right when Kyle Murphy holds up at the top of the 18 where you have to anticipate much better, especially against a team like the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, who do not provide you a lot of looks offensively, so that when Kyle Murphy does check up, that run already needed to be going forward. That space at the top of the 18, quick little layoff, and you can hit it first time. Instead, the space closes down rapidly, and the Hounds are able to regroup.
Ball from Harry Hawkins. Yao taking the middle of the field. Nyman back for Yao. He gets absolutely dropped by Toby Adewale, who's claiming that that was shoulder to shoulder. But I think even the most casual of football fans would agree that that was a foul. Griffin Yao hoping for some disciplinary action, but not going to get any.
Probably lucky to stay out of the book as well. And there's one thing when you're trying to go shoulder to shoulder here, but when you lean with your hips and the ball's already been touched around you, as well as the overextended arm, it doesn't help at all. just wonder, is there anything up the sleeve of the boys from Loudon United? Just inside 12 minutes to go, halftime. Moses Nyman sitting back there, and got some pretty impressive ball strikers. You and I have had the opportunity to witness firsthand. Goes from distance. This is probably a bit outside of that reach. There's some big bodies they can utilize on that back line as well. Make their way up, and recent signing Miguel Garduno, Harry Hawkins in there as well.
Bustamante will deliver. It was actually finding ahead of Moses Nyman. Not many times we'll say that through a broadcast. And that is a rough challenge from Kyle Murphy with the ball already gone, and that is most certainly a yellow card. James is already over the line, and Kyle Murphy booked for a bit of a naughty challenge there.
Interesting for me, though, the decision-making by the referee, how Kyle Murphy, and this is 100% a yellow card, how on the other side, just a second ago, Griffin Yao, an offensive movement going forward, coming out through the midfield, possibly leading to a goal-scoring opportunity. You don't brandish one in that aspect.
So Murphy goes into the book. Joins Robbie Mertz in that category for tonight's match. And this game's starting to get a little bit chippy as we move forward. Pittsburgh on the break. Nico Brett out wide. Robbie Mertz, was he fouled? Guido Gonzalez says no. Bustamante rolls it along for Hunter Gorski. Touch forward for Kudi Pietro, but Adewale will just seal it off. This was a low-scoring affair the last time that these two sides met, as Kudi Pietro is not exactly happy with the call. It was Steven Dos Santos who got the scoring start in the 5th minute, and that would be it. 1-0 to Pittsburgh at Highmark. As Bob Lilly is pleading his case as to why maybe Kudi Pietro should go into the book now. Stampede trying to do their part here at Segra. Again, Tyler Terrence along with Devin Kerr. Less than 10 minutes until halftime. As it stands, Pittsburgh takes sole possession of first place by a point over Nashville. Unbeaten in their last 7 straight clean sheets, have not suffered a loss since August 17th. Loudon United's playoffs hopes are slim to none as Sammy Kasai commits the foul. They have this great homestand to finish off the season against some of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, and you have a lot of guys who are going to be playing for a contract next year, for more playing time this year, and even beyond that. Kasai being told that he can turn. Ball in the middle of the field is a dangerous one. Almost picked off by Loudon. Top Bratzner cleans it up. Nicky Azil. Out of the reach of Velarde. Well done for Bustamante. Able to find Andrew Loudoun. Alleviate some of the pressure. Over the top, hoping for Murphy. And Kyle Morton off of his line.
It's a bit more inviting from Loudon United in terms of their technical play and their build-up coming out of the back. Good movement into the middle, and it's that last ball that's just escaping them right now. They've done a much better job managing their overall shape past 5-6 minutes, not allowing the Riverhounds to take advantage of what Tyler and I were referencing earlier. You're just joining us, those long balls out of the back, kind of slowing the pace down a little bit, not making mistakes like that. That's something very important. You can't gift anything to the Riverhounds. And when they do kind of lull you to sleep a little bit, can you maintain your composure? They've been able to do that and a bit more.
quick turnaround from a Saturday to a Tuesday game. Mertz, good ball forward. Noah Frankie has time and space to deliver. Closed down now. Harry Hawkins clears it away. Mertz back for Frankie. That's a tough ball for Nico Brett, because even if he does get there, his really only option is to try to deliver it on the first time, and Harry Hawkins is step for step right by his side. Nico Brett, 11 goals on the season. A year ago to go along with 8 assists.
Look at how deep Robbie Mertz is coming now. It's the evolution that is the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, where they can sense a little frustration that Loudoun United have made their own changes to adjust accordingly, done well for themselves, as well as Moses Nyman, we mentioned. He's 15 years of age in the middle of the field, doing battle with the seasoned pros.
Bustamante waiting for reinforcements. Finding Kude Pietro, nice little cutback. Kude Pietro gets a bump from behind. Back out for Hunter Gorski. He loops it across and nodded away. I'll tell you what, if Kude Pietro hit the deck, he might have won the foul there. Back in for Nyman. Murphy. Douay. Pietro lays it off. Murphy on the first time. Some pretty football from Loudon. That's their first real chance of the night, and it comes all the way in the 41st minute.
The youngster in the middle, Moses Nyman, the architect for this entire movement, not just on the initial ball, but then the second one that gets sprayed back outside. And it's the constant footwork by everybody willing to interchange, much like we see out of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Rotation left and right. Kyle Murphy playing off of Kude Pietro right up top. Well done to just lay this one off and let him have a go. That's what it's going to take in order to be successful against Bob Lilly's squad. You cannot show them the same look on a regular basis. And as we mentioned, the last 10 minutes now really starting to progress in a positive manner for Loudoun United and Ryan Martin's boys.
Nyman gets it back from Bustamante. Just rolls it along for newly acquired Hunter Gorski. Kude Pietro's closed down quickly, and last touch came off of the youngster. It looked like Ryan James is pleading to the assistant referee, and his pleas are heard. It's the only game on a Tuesday, October 1st, as we are dangerously close to the postseason.
Interesting how we hit that stretch of about 10 minutes where the individual skill sets, which you and I, as well as a lot of other people, are really high on for both these teams, was just kind of pushed to the side. A lot of poor decision making. Guys 5, 6, 7 yards from each other couldn't connect. That's all starting to change now. Loudoun United really impressive on the ball and their rotation in general, but just watch. If you want to have a little fun, watch these guys' footwork and what they're able to do with this. Got to have some better decision making than what you just saw right there by Harry Hawkins. But it's the way that they position their body. That first touch, you look up, already having an idea of what option you're going to go to next, then you're playing off of each other, trying to find the space in behind. But more importantly, if you have to hold up play, do you have the options on your left, on your right, or to play back? And then what's it in? If you do, who's rotating in back behind you? That's where all the success can come from for both of these teams, and wasn't very good early on.
And that's going to be a handball and a yellow card on Garduno, who just sort of swatted that away. It was such a clever play from Nico Brett, and he has that in the bag. He's done that so many times before. And a dangerous free kick coming up for the Riverhounds. Boy, this would be such a backbreaker for Loudoun United if they were to concede right before halftime. Meanwhile, for Pittsburgh, a goal would go a long way on the road against a feisty young side.
This is actually how Canardo Forbes scored his second goal against City 11 dancing on the end line. Quick little touch around and off to the races. And this one gets held up, but how about Robbie Mertz? A lot of open area right at the top of the 18. Something off the training ground, little ball, and then have a strike.
Deflected, back post. Moses Nyman wins a header. It's the second header he's won tonight. It's a new career high. No, we don't know that for a fact, but just taking a guess.
That's a fun little prop bet in Vegas.
How many headers will Moses Nyman win this year?
You're 5'0" nothing, 100 nothing. Although he does have a little bit of athletic ability on him.
Just a little bit. Strong header won by Pittsburgh. So we are halfway through the 45th minute. Nyman lets it bounce. Mertz on the turn. Gets it away. Good ball in for Velarde. Turns Bustamante. Positive here from Pittsburgh. Flag stays down. Kasai sends it in. Knocked away by Garduño. Didn't really pick anybody out. Was more trying to pick a space out. It's Griffin Yao finding Kyle Murphy. We'll just have 1 minute of stoppage time in Leesburg, Virginia. Gorski, not a bad idea, but cut out. And the whistle is going to be blown in favor of Pittsburgh.
It's one of those ones for the Riverhounds where when everybody's marked up and you don't necessarily have a direct route to link up with someone on the offensive end, a little floater to the back post, let somebody run underneath it, at least give someone a chance to make a play on it. When you go that direct, whipped in ball low, it's much more difficult. If you're going to do that, keep it low and towards the goalkeeper. Quick little deflection, that gives you a better chance. But when you hit the penalty mark, it makes it that much more difficult to try and redirect something on the goalkeeper.
You can hear some of the traveling supporters from the Steel Army. Ball whipped in, but straight at Callie Brown. And that's going to do it for the first half. Rather uneventful, but so much on the line. As it stands, Pittsburgh Riverhounds have sole possession of first place in the Eastern Conference. Loudoun United trying to make sure that they can continue to play the spoiler role in an effective fashion. They were unable to do so against Nashville. They're level with Pittsburgh, 0-0 at halftime here in Leesburg, Virginia. Coming up to the halftime report, which is brought to you by the National Conference Center. We'll step aside, but don't go anywhere because Devin Kerr has got some great Eastern Conference playoff predictions when we come back. Halftime brought to you by the National Conference Center. Tyler Terrence along with the ex-German pro Devin Kerr. A couple of nil-nils here, or just one nil-nil. A couple of zeros is really what I meant to say. But, you know, when there aren't goals, not a ton to talk about. But we're so close to the postseason that we almost have too much to talk about, Mr. Devin Kerr. And that's what we are going to talk about now, because when you take a look at 1 through 5, it is eerily similar to what we see in the Western Conference in seeds 4 through 13. It's sort of flip-flopped. It's the upside down of the Western Conference, or it's the upside down of the Eastern Conference, depending on what way you're looking at it. Either way, what's going to happen here, Dev?
You ready?
Let's go.
Everything's going to change, and here's why it's going to change. I've got the Rowdies finishing first, and I have been the guy all season long who has said Indy 11 was going to get the #1 spot. What you're going to see on the right side of the team's names are exactly where they're sitting right now. Indy 11 have done themselves no favors. However, they still have an opportunity with 4 games left. They're going to go 2-1-1. They're going to grab 7 points. They'll jump into third. Nashville, this is the hardest one for me to pick out of everybody. I've got them sitting at 4th, garnering 4 points. 1-1-1 in their final 3 games. Now, that could turn into a tie. It could easily turn into another win. I'm just speculating here. Lou City, as great as they have been, I think they're going to continue their unbeaten run. They will get 8 points. They will stay unbeaten in this beautiful run of form, go 2-0-2. But most importantly, let's take a look at how the bottom of the playoff picture is going to play out. Birmingham Legion, they're going to jump up. They're going to go on a nice little run. 2-0-2, I'm going to give them 8 points. Jump up into 47 overall. Charleston Battery are still going to be on the outside looking in. They will go 1-2-1 in their final 4 games. Here's why. They're going to beat Bethlehem Steel. They're going to lose to Memphis, who's been on a great run of form. And then this is the one where I'm not exactly sure if they're going to draw against Birmingham or they're going to go draw against Loudon. But they're going to draw and lose one of those two. They'll go 1-2-1. They're going to miss out. St. Louis will slide in. They're actually going to, they won't win a game in their final 4. They're going to go 0-2-2.
You have Birmingham jumping St. Louis.
No. Yes, I have Birmingham jumping St. Louis. St. Louis will finish 10th. St. Louis will draw Loudon. They will draw North Carolina. They will lose to Louisville, and they will lose to Pittsburgh. Charleston Battery will finish 11th. They will be the only team in the modern era to now officially have been eliminated from postseason play. They've made it every single year.
Well, there you have it from our postseason forecaster, meteorologist extraordinaire, Mr. Devin Kerr. You can take all of those predictions to the bank, place a bet, whatever you want to do. We'll step aside. We'll let you marinate with that. We'll be back in a few moments. Long-range effort. Oh, that's spectacular. From distance, and it's a goal. That's a great save, Van Oekel. That's it for
Hamilton back out wide. Chance to put this in the penalty area. Chance, a goal! Devin Sandoval brings them to their feet in Albuquerque. A minute to play. Dia puts it in. Desperately headed away. Shot comes in. It's 2-2. Oh, can you believe it? From 2-0 down, Phoenix are level. Making the run, Mo Hernandez, edge of the box. Hernandez, great move, gets free. Hernandez gives SAFC the lead.
I told you the big man was feeling it tonight.
Low into the middle.
Oh, good shot.
Goes right, gets the shot away, score! Nowhere to go for Lorendi. Back in the middle looking for Cox, trying to set up a shot, and it finds the corner! We're level at 2, and all of a sudden, game on here in Tucson! This is in the middle, looking for Ramos, bingo! It's off the hands of Hara and in! The opening goal for Toronto FC 2.
Moape lost it. Boateng on the run. Boateng back in the net. Charles Boateng is first in league play.
To send it in. Headed away, couldn't get by the first man. Bermudez might come away with it, and he does! And There's nobody in goal. Greenville are going to score, and they're going to the playoffs. Greenville and Chris Bermudez.
Great stuff from the championship and League One as we were moving right through the National Conference Center halftime report. Again, Tyler Terrence along with Devin Kerr. Hope you had a moment to digest all of Devin's wild predictions and tell your family, tell your friends, all of them, because they're all coming true. Probably not, but we'll see in the coming weeks. But first, let's take a look at some news and notes from around the USL Championship, Devin. I mean, storylines galore with the postseason right around the corner. Pittsburgh Riverhounds obviously are at the top of the USL Championship power rankings. And the wild, wild West. I mean, we talked about the bottom of the table in the West is very similar to the top of the table in the East. 8 points separate number 4 through 11. And Devin Kerr, you got a mighty fine matchup between El Paso Locomotive and Fresno.
Really excited for this game, and El Paso Locomotive starting to gain some steam coming down the stretch here. Fresno, what are they? I have no idea what they are anymore. They dethroned Phoenix. They lose on the road to San Antonio. San Antonio, by the way, one of the more impressive teams that I've seen in the Western Conference. But if you ask me to predict the West, I have no clue. I have no clue what's going on. If I had to do the same thing, oh wait, I do. Tomorrow, join us, halftime. We'll see it.
All right, let's take a look at some Eastern Conference matchups on the horizon this week. Indy 11 will play host to Memphis. Loudon United, again, will have another top Eastern Conference side matchup against the Tampa Bay Rowdies, North Carolina FC, and New York Rebels 2. That is a big one. Devin, you see New York Rebels 2 taking 3 points at the home of Dave Saracen and NCFC, and Birmingham and Charleston. A game for the ages of the bottom of the Eastern Conference.
New York Red Bull 2, John Wolenax, guys, you know, the question all season long was, could they continue this great run of form on the road? They're starting to answer that, and the answer is no. They're not finding ways to get it done, and they're one of the ones that have an interesting stretch. I've only got them getting 3 points over their final couple games, and it's probably going to be either 1 win and 2 losses or just 3 draws. It just hasn't been regular enough of a performance to convince me that they can finish out strong.
Well, in the past, they've certainly showed us on the road in the postseason that they can get it done, and it'll probably be Louisville and New York Rebels 2 in the Eastern Conference Final again, but we'll have to wait for it to unfold. Loudon, Pittsburgh, 0-0 at halftime. We'll be back in a few moments with stats, highlights, and, of course, second half kickoff. Don't go anywhere. Almost ready for the second half here in Leesburg, Virginia at Segra Field. Thank you for sticking with us during the National Conference Center halftime report. Tyler Terrence along with Devin Kern. We'll take a look at how the first 45 minutes went down. And Devin, spoiler alert for the fans at home, we're going to be sitting down and watching this after they missed the first half, but there's no goals.
It's 0-0 for a reason. Not a lot of imagination on the offensive end of the ball. There were a few chances for both teams. Two would come in the span of about 3 minutes for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. This one and the likes of Anthony Velarde. Was really impressed by the combination he and Kasai and the distribution going forward, but that would pretty much be about it. Nico Brett would have his chance. Also would dance along the end line. They would get a set piece opportunity, and one of the odder ones you would ever see. But I was impressed by Loudon United slowly sit back and find a way to grow through this game. This is a mistake, yes, but you're also giving up an opportunity from about 30 yards out. And it's going to take something special to take down Callie Brown in goal. And the local boy making good for his squad. Getting better. Kudu Pietro, top of the 18. That was a big question mark, was what was he going to look like in the 10 role? Thought he did a good job playing off of Kyle Murphy, especially with about 10, 15 minutes to go. You started to see this movement going forward. It wasn't isolated situations of one guy trying to find another. It was 3, 4, 5 guys in unison getting into the offensive third and really having some good looks. Just couldn't close things out. But now what do you do? Now you had an opportunity for the great mindset of Bob Lilly to talk to his boys, have an extended conversation. They will most likely come out flying, but how long can they sustain that? More importantly, Loudon United at home, how do you react?
Well, let me ask you this question, though. For the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, without using the exact language that Bob Lilly would use at halftime, on a scale of 1 to 10, how upset was he with his team in the first half?
8 or 9. There were some looks, sometimes where they had the chance where Joe Greenspan coming out of the back needed to make a better decision or play a better ball because the option was there. Taking 3 touches when it could have been 1 or 2. They just needed to speed up the game a little bit, and they didn't do it. And the chances that they were able to acquire were exactly how they played out, where Robbie Mertz was playing off of Kasai and Velarde was rotating back over. Nico Brett was running in behind because they had some good rotation coming out of the outside. They need to do that more often because that's when they have their best chances on the offensive side.
So we did have 2 substitutions for Loudon as Paredes comes in, Griffin Yao comes out, Gordon Wild comes on, and Moses Nyman comes out. So Gordon Wild, of course, who scored that hat trick, his first career hat trick against the Swope Park Rangers, making an appearance in the second half here as Ryan Martin, I'm sure, is expecting, like you said, Devin, Pittsburgh Riverhounds coming out of the cage a little bit feisty, no pun intended. And away we go in the second half. And Tyler Terrence along with Devin Kerr, thank you so much for joining us. As it stands, Riverhounds in sole possession of first place in the Eastern Conference by a point over Nashville. Loudon United just simply trying to play spoiler and play some good football at the end of the season, with their playoff hopes more or less fading away into the night.
Not surprising here. Kevin Paredes has gone over to the right mid. Gordon Wild will now be the mastermind in the middle of the field in the number 10 role. What is interesting is that they have actually rotated Andrew Loudoun back into the midfield next to Bustamante and Kudu Pietro. As much as he showed us some growing pains on the negative side of things in the first half, he did get better as time went on, but now he'll be on the left side of the midfield in front of Pivo Doué. See how that relationship starts to grow.
Cut out by Sammy Kasai, Ryan James. To circle back around to fight Toby Adewale. Paredes just making his 3rd appearance as a professional. Pittsburgh looking to keep a 7-match unbeaten streak alive, looking to keep a 7-match clean streak sheet alive. Now you can hear both the Steel Army and the Stampede, the 2 support groups of Pittsburgh and Loudon United respectively, in a chanting battle of sorts. Ryan James lines up the delivery. It bounces. Awkward for Harry Hawkins and even more awkward for Robbie Mertz. That's a great sliding effort to get it along for Noah Frankie. Nico Brett back to goal. Lays it off for Thomas Van Kiaziel. Frankie, good ball in, back post header, snap down, but somehow totally scuffed by Velarde. Pittsburgh will try again, Robbie Mertz. Nico Brett penetrating ball, Frankie is there first, but Callie Brown, a bulldog rushing off of his line, makes a solid play.
Great job by the goalkeeper, but how does Anthony Velarde not put this in the back of the net? This has glory written all over it. Noah Frankie on a silver platter. All you got to do is put the old noggin right into the nylon. It looked like his vision got clouded just a little bit. I have to wonder if he heard some footsteps on the backside as well. And again, the quality goalkeeping by Callie Brown to come off his line and recognize a second chance opportunity was in his focal point.
Robbie Mertz really starting to find his way into this game. Sammy Kasai out wide for Ryan James. First time delivery all the way towards the back post. Mertz is there, back in, but too close to Cudi Pietro. Gordon Wild doesn't really have many options with him on that side of the field. Has to reverse and alleviate some of the pressure. Wild. Bustamante. Forcing Hunter Gorski to take the scenic route. Gorski just dumps it into the channel, hoping that Paredes can run onto it. Teenager running out of room, though.
With as big as the stature that is the back line of Pittsburgh Riverhounds, you have to wonder the thought process for Ryan Martin. Obviously, the skill set employed by the teenagers, very impressive, though the physicality of it all, how is that going to play out? And they definitely struggled in the outside. Griffin Yao having to deal with Frankie and Todd Pratzner in the first half. Kevin Paredes on the right side will go after Adewale. Of course, Ryan James is over there as well, and guys that not only have a boatload of experience, but just in terms of the physical development as a human being, much further advanced.
Gordon Wild, good ball in for Paredes. It was the first touch that was a bit too heavy and showed too much of it to the Pittsburgh back line. And Robbie Mertz acting to go negative. Devin, you were hoping that Pittsburgh were going to go rather quickly there because Loudon had committed numbers forward.
Especially in the middle of the field where Gordon Wild had separated himself. They didn't have the help. Loudoun was tracking back, and Bustamante was just getting himself set. When a situation like that arises, just pick your head up. That's where you want to be direct. Knock a quick little ball up top and play off of them. Something that the Pittsburgh Riverhounds have been quite successful at this year. Just haven't necessarily employed their efforts there tonight.
Patient here from Pittsburgh, able to play out of the pressure, and they've broken a number of Loudon United lines. There's Velarde leading the charge. Plenty of numbers forward for Pittsburgh. Frankie squares it back. Velarde on the first time. Great defensive play from Hunter Gorski. And now here comes Loudon. Gordon Wild at the helm. Now wide for Paredes. Joe Greenspan out to defend. Paredes into the penalty area looking for Kyle Murphy. Terrific header. A delectable service. And Loudon United on the counterattack. Punch a hole in the Pittsburgh defense. The spoilers of the Riverhounds on the night thus far. And it's a 1-0 lead for the home side.
The right side for Loudon United doing great things on both ends of the field. Hunter Gorski rotating over, making a goal-saving tackle on the one end, and they had been split apart. They then go the other direction. The home squad doing a good job, allowing their offensive pieces to get involved here, and they've got the youngster isolated on the right-hand side, said that he troubled in the one-on-ones in terms of the physical matchup. This time, their center back, Joe Greenspan, does not step and allows Kyle Murphy and his area ability to go to double digits. 10 goals on the year, and Loudon are up in front by 1.
He just leaped straight over Todd Pratzner. No regard for human life on his way up for number 10. And you just started to feel this game open up a little bit more. And now Captain Canardo Forbes onto the scene to replace Sammy Kasai. And there were a number of talented players that are usual starters for Bob Lilly waiting in the background and waiting to come on. I had a feeling that Bob probably didn't want to use them too early in this match if he didn't have to, but now down 1-0 in a desperate race for the top seed in the Eastern Conference, bringing on Forbes and seeing if he can work his magic. Paredes recording his first professional assist in just his third appearance as Forbes is taken down by Kud Di Pietro. And of course, it breaks the clean sheet streak. Last goal that they gave up was the 5th to North Carolina FC in that 5-0 drubbing. Frankie the other way. Broken up by Harry Hawkins. The entire Loudoun United back line is looking for the offside flag. Obviously not going to get it retroactively from our assistant referee. Back in for Frankie. Forbes just probing, trying to find a pocket of space. Frankie lofts it in. Header one, only as far as James. Deflects off of him, and it should be a goal kick. Looks like they're going to call corner.
Go figure that one. Canardo Forbes will most assuredly be the one to handle the set piece opportunities going forward. Of course, anything out in front of goal, Nico Brett will have a say. Here's a good look at Todd Pratzner on the back post. Number 26, he and 20, Joseph Greenspan, they are the ones you're going to look at. And just look for a little pick for 20 all the way on the backside.
Pinballs around a little bit. Alawale lays it off. Robbie Mertz on the first time took a nasty deflection, and Pittsburgh will have another crack at it from the corner.
Canardo Forbes, I want this ball quick. Get it out there. Don't allow the defensive safety, and see he's asking for it right away. Well done by the ball boy. Give that man a raise. Understands he's got to give his squad a chance to get back and mark up on their defensive responsibilities. They couldn't find number 20 last time. Can they rotate out and find him again?
Corner whipped in almost over the head of Callie Brown, but makes a good play. Nugget brought to us by our producer extraordinaire, Wes Zintek. And Pittsburgh Riverhounds 5-0-5 in midweek fixtures. 5-0-0, pardon me.
Just took away a lot of their points. 5 whole points on that one. It'd be far and away.
Right now it's no points for the Riverhounds if they can't sort out an equalizer. Forbes driving forward, slips it through. Velarde knocks it across. It's Nico Brett! And the Riverhounds have an answer here in Leesburg. And it's Nico Brett now with a dozen on the season. 1-1.
So simplistic in terms of execution. This is something that you learn as a youngster, going all the way back to 8, 9, and 10 years old. Just simple little build-up coming out of the back. And yeah, don't follow the bumblebee. But in this terms, you move into the box, you want your attacking options. As this starts to get to the byline, where are the runs going to come from? You're going to have a near post run, you want trailers around the top of the 18, and you want a back post run. That's exactly how it plays out. And Nico Brett just finding his way in, he and Canardo Forbes having a little fun. Number 9 getting them equal, and it's the quick little dash to get out in front of Pivo Due, who had moved his way all the way to the near post, but could not find the trailing runner.
Well, you just have no idea how important each goal, each point will be when it's all said and done. But I can promise you this, the difference between the top of the table in the Eastern Conference is going to be minuscule, and that could just be a goal that allows Pittsburgh to claim the number 1 seed. Still a long way till we can go and figure that one out. But for the moment, 1-1 here at Segra. And I'll tell you what, Canardo Forbes just making an immediate impact, the orchestrator of that entire play. He won't get an assist, but he will get the hockey assist with hockey season right around the corner. Setting up Anthony Velarde beautifully. Andrew Loudoun thought he had a runner that was a bit further upfield, and Kyle Morton will claim it. Pratzner. And for Robbie Mertz. Really patient here from Pittsburgh. You see Loudoun United sagging off just a little bit here. Forbes with an awkward ball, but it lands right for Mertz. Nico Brett was asking for it. He likes to go for Frankie. He knocks it across. And Nico Brett is really frustrated with the rookie, Robert Mertz, who did not give him the ball when he asked for it.
This initial ball is trying to be played by Conrado Forbes, going all the way to the opposite side of field, and Frankie gets a bit lucky. Turf Monster grabs his foot, and it falls to Robbie Mertz. And he's right, this ball's got to be easier on a platter to the front post. Put it right into the striker's foot, let him get a quick little touch on it to redirect onto the goalkeeper, and you make it 2-1.
Almost an hour gone here. After no goals in the first 45 minutes, we'd have 2 in the first 15 minutes of the second half, coming by way of Kyle Murphy and Nico Brett, the 2 talismen for either side. Thibaut Douay. Knocked away by Pratzner. Douay actually stumbles into Van Kiazil in the process. Velarde leading the charge the other way for the Hounds. Nico Brett should be onside, and he is. Brett cuts it across, great move. Brett going for goal, and Callie Brown makes the save at the near post. Plenty of pace behind it, but Brown had his angles covered.
Good job by Nico Brett here, but as he brings this back across his body, notice how the angle has pretty much closed itself down. Didn't really have another option to just put his boot on it, grab your laces, a bunch of power, and see if you can squeak one inside the goalkeeper's near post. Callie Brown's seen this before. Make yourself big, can't catch it. Just push it to the side and allow your boys to regroup.
Forbes on the corner, all the way towards the back post. Brett a swing on the miss, trying to take it on the first time, and it might unlock the counterattack the other way for Ryan Martin's group. In for Gordon Wild, and if he had gotten a touch to it, Loudon would have been in. Up steps Noah Frankie. And now it's Forbes on the other end. Great ball for Nico Brett, curls it behind the entire Loudon back line. Brett had actually stopped his run if he continued. He might have been able to put it on frame. This one sent in, won by Douay. Brett managed to keep it in play. And it'll be a corner for the visitors, who are applying a ton of pressure here just past the hour mark. By the way, a quick update on Moses Nyman and his aerial duels this season. Thanks to Nicholas Murray of the USL Championship, we now have solid information that Moses Nyman is 2 for 4 all-time in aerial duels.
50%.
It's a Hall of Famer.
50% of the time it works every time.
Corner whipped in, it gets all the way through, and it's off Joe Greenspan and in. Not the most aesthetically pleasing goal that anybody will score in this league, but at the top of the Eastern Conference table, when it's this tight, the Hounds will take it. They've scored 2 unanswered after Loudoun United opened up the scoring, and it's 2-1 to Bob Lilly's side.
We mentioned how they're always looking for the big bodies, and the likes of Joe Greenspan, of course, midseason acquisition recently, and Todd Pratzner coming back from Memphis, though not necessarily in this fashion. And when you look at the goal scorers on this team, you run down, you look at guys like Nico Brett, Steven Dos Santos. Well, now you can start to thrust Joe Greenspan into it, who's now backed 4 on the year. And that'll tie him for 5th on the team. Hard to believe in a center back that doesn't get many opportunities to get forward. So from any set-piece opportunity from the corner, man standing right around 6'6", always has to be the targeted option, and they convert.
And now, as it stands, Pittsburgh 3 points clear of Nashville Soccer Club atop the Eastern Conference. Well, what a response it has been from the Riverhounds after the insertion of Kenardo Forbes seemingly having new life. And now how do you respond if you're Loudoun United? Has to be defeating going up a goal at home and conceding two in rather quick succession. Robbie Mertz now. He sprays one across for Noah Frank. He was starting to get more and more involved. Frankie has it poked away by Due, able to retain possession though. Pratzner. Frankie tries to cross it. Did well to win a corner. Forbes will trot over to take another corner. Obviously was not handled well by Loudoun United last time around. Resulted in the Joe Greenspan go-ahead goal. See if they can tighten the screws a little bit. Forbes all the way towards the back post. Greenspan was there again. Loose in the penalty area. Velarde still might be able to get there, but Garduno with a diving clearance. Greenspan is usually the target on any set piece for Pittsburgh. That much is abundantly clear. .25 minutes remaining. Pittsburgh Riverhounds 2 goals in a very short period of time, about 5 minutes to be exact. And they have their lead on the road against a stingy Loudoun United side that has proven throughout the season that they can beat the best of the Eastern Conference. As of late, it has not been the case, but Pittsburgh obviously a very formidable opponent when they are away from home, especially midweek.
This is where Loudoun United are starting to have problems, where things were a bit more direct in the actions in the first half. And what I mean by that is number 17, Van Kiesel, just to the left of the center circle next to Gordon Wild. He was the one who was sitting deep every single time. That's not the case anymore, where Kenardo Forbes is now dropping back. Robbie Mertz is still shifting side to side. And even Van Kiesel is giving them a look. Now, he's not pushing himself into this offensive unit, trying to get involved in the attack, but he is stepping up higher into the midfield. So you have to second guess yourself if you're one of the boys in the center of the park for Loudon.
And it's going to be offside.
Just pump fake a little bit, where do I now step in and is that my marker? Who am I rotating to next? That's where communication has to start to come from not only Callie Brown on the back line, but the likes of Harry Hawkins, Manuel Garduno, and just chat a bit further, especially with the youngsters who have not experienced looks like this before. I understand Antonio Bustamante is a huge talent. They made him a homegrown for a reason, but this is a shape that you don't often get to see at any level, let alone late in the season when challenging the likes of Bob Lilly. You have to keep your head on a swivel so many times, and they're really struggling with it right now.
Away by Joe Greenspan. Nico Brett brings it down. start to see Pittsburgh go into a bit more of a shell in the final 23 minutes or so.
As this game progresses, they are so disciplined in their nature that will almost naturally just start to sit back deeper, sitting on the 1-goal lead. But right now, with their ability to break down Loudoun United, they're not necessarily pulling the reins just yet. They'll continue to pick and prod a little bit. Once they do move into the offensive end for Loudoun United, Ryan Martin will recognize that their best chances right now is probably a little bit of the same medicine they've been giving themselves in the terms of the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, where Pittsburgh will sit and kind of lull you to sleep. Loudoun United have to have the ability to maintain discipline on their defensive side of the ball and then showcase their ability to counterattack. We saw that at Kyle Murphy. You've seen looks from Kevin Paredes and Gordon Wild. That's where the goal came from. But now, with just a little bit of time left, as you get a look at John Murphy, inside 20 minutes to go, can they now execute when their back's up against the wall? That will be the biggest question.
Pressure here from Loudon. Frankie. Forbes stumbles, and it opens up a lot of space for Loudon going the other way. Decent ball from Loudoun. Paredes, who has the assist on the only Loudon goal tonight. Trying to cut to the inside. Great footwork. Gordon Wild on the turn. Smashes one into the backside of Joe Greenspan. Nico Brett. Forbes will slow things up for Pittsburgh, who have been chasing the ball for the past 5 or 6 minutes or so. Here, Bob Lilly wanting his side to move further and further up the field. Adewale taken down, stays on his feet. Taken down again. Referee says play on, advantage is seen. Velarde. Brett lays it off for Forbes. One more for Frankie. He knocks it across. It's a fizzing ball and nobody's there. Runs were just a bit delayed from Nico Brett and Robbie Mertz. That's the pattern we've been seeing over and over again since Kenardo Forbes has been coming onto the field. And just a few minutes ago.
Notice how they don't panic, though. It looked like there was no one on the backside coming. Noah Frankie really late to come into the picture. And just before that, felt like maybe it was going to break down. And how about Kevin Paredes on the other side of the ball? Number 14, coming onto that right midfield position. One of the youngsters, the academy players, just the 3rd time out. And we talked about the technical ability.
Yikes.
Lovely little footwork on the far touchline and doing that against some really impressive players. That's Ryan James at the tail end of it that was confused.
He's the player in question as well. He's been playing so well since coming on. That delivered to Kyle Murphy on the opening goal on the night was just absolutely scrumptious as the Scotch Plains, New Jersey native. Now Murphy is getting ready to come on. Steven Dos Santos getting set to come on for Pittsburgh as well as reinforcements up top for Bob Lilly. Devin, we already talked about the goals and the tactical performance from Pittsburgh against Indy 11, and I mean, we have to take another look at it.
15th minute set piece opportunity from distance. By the way, this is not fully on his laces. It's not fully on the inside of his instep either. He's got that gray area where he gets just the right amount of pace, and you can see it moving away. Evan Newton knows. He goes, yeah, that was something special. Not to be outdone, though. Kenardo Forbes would do something quite spectacular of his own in about the 40th minute. And then a little Cinderella dancing. Didn't want to be late to the ball. Had to get home by midnight, 71st minute without a third. And some really impressive footwork, long-distance striking ability coming out of Highmark back on September 28th, just last Saturday, a day that Martin Rennie and his boys would like to forget.
Ryan James has a cutoff by Bustamante. Murphy, who just came onto the scene, beat to the ball. Rather, that's Loudoun. Velarde from distance, and Callie Brown needed to make sure that that was going over. He helps it over.
Always a difficult one for the goalkeeper. Is this going to dip under my crossbar and give itself a chance to get on frame? Well done by him just to push it over. Again, it goes to the corner, but rather that than the latter route that puts you down by 2.
So Steven Dos Santos will come on for his typical running partner up top. And replace Nico Brett, who finishes the night with a goal. And on the road, midweek, quick turnaround. Your job is done as a number 9.
Just hoping with outside 15 minutes to go, can they close this out as Ryan Martin will make a change. And finally, there will be John Murphy. We saw him warming up on the sideline. Definitely a defensive movement here for the home squad. And Pietro will have a seat for the evening. Would imagine with him coming on that Andrew Loudoun will now go out to the wing. And he'll sit next to Antonio Bustamante in the middle of the field.
So Pietro, not exactly the night that he had experienced about 6 days ago against the Swope Park Rangers, 8 days ago, excuse me, as this one sent in and knotted away by Hunter Gorski. In Pittsburgh, we get another bite of the apple from the corner. 15 minutes remaining. Joe Greenspan's highlight reel goal is the difference in this game. Whipped in again. Callie Brown needed to punch it away, couldn't quite catch it. Hops up on Velarde. Knocked out wide. Kennardo Forbes puts the brakes on, trying to get rid of Paredes. And Pratzner heavily back to Forbes. Back for Velarde. Dinks it in. Adewale. Good footwork from Callie Brown.
If you're Robbie Mertz there, you have to be screaming at the top of your lungs to dummy that ball. Tell the outside back to leave it. As good as Robbie Mertz is on it, and especially his striking capability. So many times we saw it as a Wolverine under Shaka Daly. He's got to ask for that ball. Leave it be, take a little one touch, and then have a go at goal.
Forbes, a bit of a poor pass there. Rare miscue from him in the middle of the field. And maybe something cooking for Loudon United. Paredes wants to go again. Kennardo Forbes atoning for his sins after he gave the ball away. Goes and wins it back for his club. Frankie lofts it in. Ball in from Due, asking questions in the Pittsburgh defense, but Kyle Morton has the answer.
Joseph Greenspan not happy with the right side of the field, and Noah Frankie and Todd Pratzner having a few choice words of his own as this ball got sprayed up over the top, and he had to just obstruct the view a little bit and not allow the Loudon United player to get onto it. Look at the width that Pittsburgh is utilizing now, really spreading it out, but so much space in the middle, and they continuously are giving the ball away, allowing United to stay in this match.
Garduño. Harry Hawkins out of the back. Footwork again for Paredes, so impressive on the ball. Stays in for Due. And stays with Loudon.
Again, it's just the little things that are separating itself right now for the Riverhounds, or Paredes. His tactical ability on full display, and Dewey not reacting to it quick enough. You know, you have to have that ambition to get forward to get that game-tying goal, and it's just not there, or instead he waits for the play to develop on its own, where he should have been anticipating, could have already been down in and whipped that across first time. Instead, you have to take a second or a third touch. That's where the Riverhounds close you down.
Dos Santos, great nutmeg. Looking to take on the entire back line. As it poked away, though, by Garduno. Nicky Azil. Loudon are trying to move further up the field, but Pittsburgh have kept a cool head in retaining possession. Seconds fall for Robbie Mertz. Out of the reach of Noah Frankie, though.
They're doing it in impressive fashion because they're not necessarily pressing 100 miles an hour, running around like you'll see out of the New York Red Bulls too. They're just inching ever so closely up higher and really challenging the Riverhounds to play out of the back a bit more than we've seen all match long. Everybody understanding where their marks are supposed to be, and if there is a bit of unfaltered territory, where is the next step going to be from? That's something that they've struggled with all game. They've gotten it right over the past few minutes.
More than 10 minutes left. Joe Greenspan with the game winner at the moment in the 62nd minute, and that was following a Nico Brett goal in the 57th. And that was following the opening goal from Kyle Murphy in the 52nd. Jousting with Andrew Loudoun. It's the better of him there. Or gets bailed out by the referee, depending on what side of the ball you're on. Velarde. And James lets it off for Canardo Forbes. Nicky Azil, a long way for Noah Frankie. Brings it down, sizing up Douay, lays it off. Mertz, positive first touch, gets the shot away, but a little bit too late as Douay got a touch to it. Mertz back in. Forbes brings it down, going for the curling effort, but always leaning back.
One of the things that's really escaped the Riverhounds when they have gotten in or around the box is the decision making. I'll give you a better look at it in a minute, but with Robbie Mertz, I'm just gonna talk it out for you. It's pulling the trigger a bit faster and allowing this to really have an opportunity to go after the goalkeeper and put yourself out in front by two. Or when the ball comes all the way back across, you don't need to step on it. Trust your training. Just put your head down, lean your laces over this ball, and put it on frame. Worst case scenario, takes a deflection, comes off, the goalkeeper makes the save, and you get a second or third shot at this. But the minute that you step on it, all of the hard work that you've done in terms of build-up has been pushed to the side. And now you allow Loudon United to get their shape back and close things out. That's exactly how it plays out, instead of just going the direct route early on.
Kyle Murphy played into space. Knocks one across, awkward for Greenspan. Well done from Frankie. Big collision there between Dos Santos and Harry Hawkins. Set piece coming up for Loudon, and we'll take a look at what Devin was talking about.
Just right here, there's no reason to take a touch. The minute you bring this back across your body, you're taking a positively negative touch. What I mean by that is it's great, it's out in front of you, but you're setting yourself up to fail. There's 3 defenders in front, where if you just hit it first time, there's more room for you to work on net. Robbie Mertz knows it. He has a really good idea from a footballing IQ what he should have done. Hopefully it doesn't come back to bite him.
Bustamante drives one. It's a good ball in. Won by Loudon, but a push off. It goes back to the Hounds. Davo getting set to come on for the Riverhounds. Their third and final substitution.
Look at the shape now. Everybody inside. 40 yards from net. Compressed into a tight-knit 11 unit, but still the capability to go as direct as you want with all the speed at their disposal.
And it's Canardo Forbes. Cuts it back, on himself caught there. Always wanted to hit it with his right or try to find a teammate, but the only one there in support was Robbie Mertz. And maybe it opens up a counterattack on the other end for Loudon. That's a bit rushed as Adewale gets there before Gordon Wild does. And here comes that substitution as Dabo will replace Anthony Velarde, who had a nice game tonight after what was probably a disappointing first half for mostly everybody on the field for Pittsburgh.
More importantly, going forward, they still were able to look pretty impressive. Reference to their defensive shape, but not the best decision making. Velarde not rewarded for his efforts either by the manager. Gives you an idea of how Bob Lilly feels with just a 1-goal cushion, 5 minutes to play. Again, everybody behind the ball. All hands on deck for the Riverhounds. White jerseys, they know how precious the points are down the stretch, and especially right now with a chance to distance themselves from the rest of the pack in the Eastern Conference. As it stands, they will have moved their way all the way up to 61. 3 full points ahead of Nashville SC sitting in second. Red Bull 2, one behind in third at 57, and the Rowdies sitting right there in fourth. Of course, Indy 11 have the game in hand. They might be able to leapfrog. Nobody, for the most part, outside of the Riverhounds, has really given anybody a positive talking point recently.
Two-way sends one in, and it was more than awkward for Kyle Morton. He didn't get a touch to it. Goal kick coming up, but people do it. Not sure if this was intended.
Indy 11 have dropped 3 in a row. Tampa Bay Rowdies, Red Bull 2 out of the last 3. Pittsburgh Riverhounds in danger of it. He's cheating a little bit off his line, Kyle Morton, waiting for this ball onto the back post as he saw Andrew Loudoun on his peripherals, but instead able to drift back here and just play the get-out-of-jail-free card.
Murphy into space for Hawkins, who's found himself in a much more advanced position. Seeing if they can win a few more aerial battles with the likes of Anki Azil, Joe Greenspan, Adewale, all playing their part in the penalty area. It's well done from Pittsburgh.
This intensity you're seeing in the past 10 seconds or so has got to be much higher from Loudon United if they do want a chance to go and steal one at the death of things. Higher tempo, pick up the pace a little bit, and really try and spread them out. Situations such as this where the Riverhounds have moved their line higher. It's not the shape you saw before, but then sloppy giveaway coming out of the back.
And the Hounds will just keep it. It's a simple game of keep away at this point. Forbes sees the space and takes it. Forbes sliding one through. Ryan James should be offside, and he is. Just about a half a step, though.
It's pretty impressive vision by Canardo Forbes through the middle. And right here at the tail end of it. Play it now, too late. Bring it across your body. Give it to Noah Frankie. Let him reap the glory. Look at the line of red shirts. Everybody up top. There's no one centrally located to help them out in the middle of the field. I don't mind the idea of putting this ball down in the corner and trying to whip one in. But there's still got to be a way to connect the dots. Now you start to see John Murphy rotate back over and help out.
Calls for Bustamante. Laid it off, but nobody there. Long ball sent ahead for Dos Santos. He'll be able to keep it in play. And Dos Santos with a bit of theatrics after the fact. At least that's what the fans think. Bustamante. Well out of the reach of Douay. You can see the frustration on the face of Ryan Martin, who just sort of put his head down. Loudon on the verge of another disappointing result against a very solid side. Pittsburgh side that is in sole control of first place, regardless of what happens tonight. You would imagine that Loudon aren't going to get two at the death here. So even just a goal from Loudon United and Pittsburgh would still lead the East by a point, as Dos Santos is fouled.
Once again, kind of the same story coming for Loudon United, where they've given you glimpses, whether it be the individual in Moses Nyman and his impressive performance, or the 20-minute spans you saw in the first half, and some of that matriculating into the second. Unfortunately, it's going to be, seems to be too little too late, as we're getting where there's 3 minutes of stoppage time left. Still a little bit of a chance, but just not enough to really challenge the veterans that are the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. And they've done so well assimilating the young guys like Robbie Mertz into this, getting players like Noah Frankie, second-year pro coming out of Creighton, just buy into this system, which is not an easy one to pick up.
Pratzner flicks it along, hoping that Forbes might be able to get there, but
he's on the back line for a reason.
Last touch should be off Gordon Wild, but Guido Gonzalez points in favor of Loudon. Almost a minute through the three that have been added on. Wild shoves one along. Paredes. Little stop and go, still with it. Towards the byline. And a goal kick coming, good defending.
This is a defender where you know what you can and cannot get away with. Todd Pratzner just using his big frame to his advantage. Now there's a jersey pull, but it's not enough to point to the penalty mark, as he understood exactly what Paredes was trying to do. We've showcased him multiple times this evening, what he's capable of from a one-on-one skill standpoint. Now just about 90 seconds for the Hounds to put this to bed.
Robbie Mertz towards the corner flag. Dos Santos now will just milk the clock for what it's worth. Since they've scored their go-ahead goal, Pittsburgh have been utterly professional in their efforts to close this game out. And that is what separates the good teams from the great teams. And that is what's going on at the top of the Eastern Conference table right now. There are 5 really good teams, but there's only going to be one great team that can ensure that the entirety of the Eastern Conference postseason runs through their home venue. And boy, how daunting of a task would it be as a road side in the postseason have to go to Highmark. That's where we're headed right now. Still a few games left, but this certainly won't hurt their cause. Foul called against Greenspan. And a set piece for Loudon now. And this will probably be the last kick of the game. Everybody forward for the home side. All the red jerseys will find their way into the penalty area of the Hounds. A real opportunity to play spoiler. And look who wants to get involved in the act. It's Callie Brown, the keeper for Loudon United. Gordon Wild drives one in and nodded away. And that's going to do it full time. The Pittsburgh Riverhounds unbeaten in their last 8, but more importantly, sole owners of first place in the Eastern Conference table. Joe Greenspan with the game winner in the 62nd minute. It was not easy. It did not come without some bumps in the road, but Bob Lilly and the Pittsburgh Riverhounds 3 points clear of Nashville Soccer Club. Final score presented by Segra, and the final is Pittsburgh 2, Loudon United 1. Devin Kerr, your thoughts?
We talk about the Pittsburgh Riverhounds and how good they are defensively and how everybody has to buy in, but that doesn't always take shape. And earlier on this season, they didn't have a lot of losses, but they didn't have a lot of wins either. They drew a lot of games unnecessarily because offensively, they couldn't find a way to get it done. You go back to June 1st on the road against Indy 11, a 2-1 loss. Since then, they have only lost twice, and they've done it in really impressive fashion. More recently, I really like what they've been able to do against the likes of Red Bull 2, North Carolina FC, back on. And the reason I say that is because they did it on the road. And that's exactly what they were able to do tonight, where they go out, yeah, they fall behind, but they found a way to really carry some momentum of what they had in the first half and go after it. How did we get here? Let's show you. Well, the first half was a bit of a snoozer at certain points in time. But again, there were some glimpses. The Pittsburgh Riverhounds would find a way to get back into this, but it would all start from Kyle Murphy and the counterattacking option coming through. Great ball down into the corner by Gordon Wild. He extends the defense. Just keep an eye, number 9 on the backside of the screen. One-on-one, sometimes just put it up, let the big boys go get it. Kyle Murphy gets his 10th on the season. Loudon United out in front, 1-0.
First professional assist for Kevin Paredes, who came on and made an immediate impact, and Kyle Murphy just makes quick work of Todd Pratzner. But then, Devin, as you mentioned, Pittsburgh slowly but surely would find their way back into this one, and it took the insertion of Conrado Forbes to really get the wheels spinning.
High energy coming. You saw him rotating all over the pitch. They'd get 2 goals in the span of 5 minutes, but watch this one-on-one run. The minute he releases this ball down to the corner, it's game over. You have too many options on the offensive side. Loudon United cannot connect defensively with any of them. You see all the trailing runs. When you're tracking back as a defender and your shoulders are turned in that direction towards your goalkeeper, that's problematic. They get it even Stevens, and then the go-ahead goal, which one of the odder ones that you're going to see scored by the big center back, Joe Greenspan. They don't care. 62nd minute, beautiful distribution by Conrado Forbes. They get their second of the night. More importantly, they're on the top, looking down, 3 points, number 1 in the Eastern Conference.
Here are the final stats tonight presented by Segra, and as you can see, it was Pittsburgh who really just put the impetus on the game and just took matters into their own hands. 18 shots against Loudon United's 4, only 1 on target for the home side.
I want to know who the statistician was at the field tonight that had 18 shots. I'd have to go back and track. 9 of them on target? Are you kidding me? I mean, Callie Brown's good, but I don't remember all that happening. But well done by the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Again, they didn't hit the panic button. When things weren't going their way in the first half, they found a way, made some changes. Bob Lilly, the beautiful tactician that he is, was on full display tonight. Really bringing on Conrado Forbes, and you mentioned it. The second he came on, the entire landscape of this game changed. They go out and get the victory.
Well, the Pittsburgh Riverhounds are going to enjoy this one because for the moment, they're in first place in the Eastern Conference. A side that hasn't gotten out of the quarterfinals in the modern era of the USL just very well might be on their way to a number 1 seed in the postseason. Meanwhile, for Loudon United, it's another disappointing result for our entire crew. And my broadcast partner, Devin Kerr, Tyler Terrence saying so long for now. The final score, Pittsburgh 2, Loudon 1. We'll talk to you soon, folks.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.